London was drowning in drizzle again. The kind that seeped into your bones no matter how tightly you wrapped your coat. Catherine Ann adjusted the strap of her leather satchel as she crossed the rain-slicked cobblestones of Shoreditch, heading toward the small cafe where she had arranged an interview. Her editor at the Chronicle had pushed her onto this assignment reluctantly, knowing she had a knack for finding danger where others saw only gossip. The case was simple on paper, a string of disappearances around the East End, each victim last seen wandering into the fog late at night. But the name that kept surfacing, Sophia Grace, was what intrigued Catherine most. Sophia wasn't missing. Not yet. She was an art student who had been reported for erratic behavior, fainting spells, night terrors, and strange sketches covering her studio walls, sketches of faceless figures stretching out long, skeletal hands. Catherine had read enough to know when fear was manufactured and when it was real. And something about Sophia's story reeked of the latter. The cafe was nearly empty when Catherine pushed open the door. The scent of espresso clung to the air, mingling with the faint musk of old wood. At the corner table, a girl sat hunched over a cup of untouched tea, pale fingers tracing the rim absently. Sophia Grace. Her hair fell in loose waves, the color of autumn chestnuts. There was fragility in her posture, like she might splinter if touched, but her eyes, deep gray, storm-laden, watched the world as if it might collapse any second. Catherine approached, her journalist's poise masking the curiosity hammering in her chest. "Miss Grace." Sophia startled slightly before nodding. "You must be." Catherine, her voice was soft, uncertain, as though the syllables themselves were too heavy to carry. Catherine slid into the chair opposite her. "You've heard about me. I read your articles. The one about the abandoned hospital near Blackfriars." Sophia's lips trembled into the ghost of a smile. "You wrote about things others would rather not admit exist." Catherine tilted her head. "And you think what's happening to you belongs in that category?" For a moment, silence stretched between them. Outside, rain pattered harder against the window, blurring the neon lights into smears of color. Then Sophia reached into her bag and pulled out a sketchbook. She opened to a page filled with frantic lines, inked shadows twisting into a grotesque hand clawing through mist. Catherine leaned closer, her pulse quickening. "You've seen this?" Sophia nodded, her voice cracking. "Every night. It's always there, reaching for me. And when I wake up..." She extended her arm. Thin red marks lined her skin, raw and angry, as though fingernails had scraped her while she slept. Catherine's throat tightened. This wasn't attention-seeking melodrama. These marks were real. "You went to the police?" They laughed. Sophia's eyes shimmered, brimming with unshed tears. "Said I was sleepwalking, hallucinating. But it's not in my head, Catherine. It follows me even in daylight. Sometimes I feel it breathing behind me when I walk through the fog." Catherine studied her, weighing the tremor in her voice, the dark circles etched beneath her eyes. She'd interviewed liars before. Sophia didn't fit the mold. "Why come to me?" Catherine asked. Sophia hesitated, then whispered, "Because you don't run from the dark. You write about it. And because, the voice told me you'd find me." Catherine stiffened. "The voice?" Sophia's fingers clenched the edge of the sketchbook. "In my dreams. It whispers my name, over and over. Last night it said, 'Catherine will bring you to me.'" A chill threaded down Catherine's spine. She masked it with a wry smile. "Convenient. The monster knew I was coming." Sophia didn't laugh. Her gaze darted to the window, where fog pressed thick against the glass, swallowing the street outside. It's here, she murmured. Catherine followed her gaze. The rain had slowed, but the mist coiled unnaturally, as if alive. And for the briefest heartbeat, Catherine swore she saw the faint imprint of a hand against the window pane. She pushed back her chair, heart hammering. Sophia, let us get you out of here. Sophia rose quickly, clutching her bag like a lifeline. Catherine guided her toward the door, scanning the empty cafe. The barista was gone. The hum of the espresso machine had ceased. The world outside was muffled, as though wrapped in cotton. They stepped into the fog. Cold moisture clung instantly to Catherine's skin, and the street lamps flickered dimly above them. Sophia's hand brushed hers small, trembling. "Do you believe me now?" she whispered. Catherine wanted to say no, wanted to keep her journalist's skepticism intact. But the memory of that handprint on the glass burned in her mind. She exhaled slowly. "I believe something wants you. And if it wants you, then it'll have to go through me first." Sophia's grey eyes widened, vulnerable and luminous in the haze. For a moment, Catherine felt something stir: protectiveness, yes, but also something far more dangerous. The fog thickened around them. Somewhere in the distance, a low, guttural whisper echoed, "Sophia." Catherine gripped Sophia's hand firmly. "Stay close. Don't look back." Together, they vanished into the mist, unaware that their fates had already been bound by fear, by danger, and by a love neither of them yet dared to name. The fog clung to them like wet linen, suffocating and impenetrable. Catherine guided Sophia through the narrow London street, every instinct screaming that someone or something watched them from the shadows. The sound of their footsteps echoed unnaturally, each tap of leather against stone magnified as though the mist itself amplified the noise. Sophia's grip on Catherine's hand tightened until her knuckles turned white. "It's closer," she whispered, breath uneven. "Can't you feel it?" Catherine glanced over her shoulder. The alley stretched endlessly behind them, swallowed by haze. "What I feel is that we're not safe out here." "Where's your flat?" "2 streets away," Sophia murmured. "Above the old bookstore." "Then we'll make it there." Catherine tried to sound steady, but unease crawled under her skin. She had covered murders, political scandals, even cult gatherings, but never had she felt so clearly that she had stepped into someone else's nightmare. They hurried on. The world seemed muffled, robbed of sound, until a whisper sliced through the silence, low, rasping, barely human. "Sophia." The syllables curled in the mist, dragging gooseflesh up Catherine's arms. She stopped abruptly, pulling Sophia behind her. "Who's there?" Her voice carried more bravado than certainty. The fog shifted. For an instant, Catherine thought she saw a figure, a man, tall and thin, his features obscured by the vapor. His arm lifted, and the outline of an elongated hand stretched toward them. Sophia let out a strangled cry. "That's him! The one from my dreams!" Catherine shoved her forward. "Run!" They sprinted, shoes splashing through shallow puddles, their breaths ragged. The figure didn't follow with footsteps. Instead, the mist itself seemed to surge, chasing them like a tide. At last, they reached a weathered storefront with a faded sign, "Wycliffe's Rare Books." Sophia fumbled for her keys, nearly dropping them as her hands shook violently. Catherine yanked the door open, pushing her inside before slamming it shut. For a moment, silence. The fog pressed against the glass, but the handprint Catherine dreaded never came. Slowly, she let her breath escape. The apartment above the shop was small but cozy, cluttered with canvases and books. The air smelled faintly of turpentine and coffee. Sophia collapsed onto the sofa, trembling, while Catherine drew the curtains tightly shut. "Are you hurt?" Catherine asked, kneeling before her. Sophia shook her head, curls tumbling across her face. "No, but it saw me. It always sees me." Catherine took a steadying breath. "Then we need to figure out what it is. Hallucinations don't leave bruises, and Miss doesn't whisper names." Sophia hesitated before standing and crossing to a corner where several canvases leaned against the wall. She pulled one out, revealing a painting in thick oils. It was the same hand Catherine had seen sketched earlier, but more vivid. Long fingers, charred black, with veins like cracks of lightning. Behind it swirled a storm of mist, and faintly visible in the background, a face twisted, hollow-eyed, grinning with impossible malice. Catherine's stomach clenched. "You painted this?" "Yes," Sophia whispered. "But I don't remember doing it. I wake up and find them here." "Sleep painting," Catherine muttered. "That's a new one." She forced a thin smile, but her mind whirred. Victims disappearing in the fog, Sophia marked by nightmares, and now this entity reaching across the threshold of dreams and reality. Sophia suddenly grabbed her wrist. "Do you believe me now?" Catherine met her storm-grey eyes. "I believe something very real is trying to take you. And if the missing people are connected, then we don't have much time." Sophia's voice trembled. "Why me?" Catherine didn't answer immediately. Instead, she stood and pulled out her phone, dialing quickly. The call rang twice before a familiar voice answered. "Naomi White," came the crisp, efficient tone. "Naomi, it's Catherine. I need you." A pause. "That's rare to hear. What's wrong?" Catherine lowered her voice, though Sophia listened intently. "Strange disappearances in the East End. I found someone who might be next." She's seeing things. Hearing them. It's not in her head, Naomi. I saw it. You. Naomi's tone sharpened. "You saw what, exactly?" "A figure in the fog. A hand on the glass." Catherine's throat tightened. "Something unnatural." Another pause. Then Naomi sighed. "All right. Send me the address. I'll bring some records from the archives." "But Catherine, be careful. You always throw yourself into the fire without thinking." Catherine hung up, pocketing her phone. Sophia looked at her uncertainly. "Who was that?" "A friend," Catherine said simply. "Someone who can help." Sophia's hands twisted together. "I don't want more people dragged into this." Catherine sat beside her, lowering her voice. "You didn't choose this, Sophia. And whatever it is, it's not just about you anymore. If people are vanishing, then stopping it matters." Sophia's gaze softened, though fear lingered. "Why are you helping me? You don't even know me." Catherine hesitated. The journalist in her wanted to claim it was for the story, for the truth. But looking into Sophia's fragile, luminous eyes, the answer that rose in her chest was different. "Because someone has to stand with you," she said quietly. "And I'm not going to let the dark take you without a fight." Sophia blinked, and for the first time, a flicker of warmth lit her expression. She leaned back into the sofa, exhaustion pulling at her. Within minutes, her breathing softened into sleep. Catherine remained awake, watching the curtains as the fog outside swirled and shifted. Somewhere in the distance, faint and mocking, she heard the whisper again, "Catherine." Her blood ran cold. This wasn't just after Sophia anymore. Now, it knew her name. Catherine hadn't slept a second. She remained on the worn armchair by Sophia's window, her gaze fixed on the faint movement of fog outside. The whisper of her name still echoed in her ears, gnawing at her rational mind. At dawn, the fog began to thin, retreating like a beast slinking back into its lair. Sophia stirred on the sofa, shifting beneath the blanket Catherine had placed over her. When her eyes opened, confusion clouded her expression before recognition softened it. "You stayed," she whispered. Catherine allowed a wry smile. "Wouldn't he be much of a journalist if I ran at the first sign of trouble?" Sophia sat up, brushing her hair from her face. "No one's ever stayed before." Something in her tone made Catherine's chest tighten, but before she could ask more, a sharp knock rattled the door. Sophia flinched. Catherine stood instantly, hand brushing the small pistol hidden in her bag. "It's all right," she murmured, moving toward the door. Through the peephole, she saw a familiar figure in a navy trench coat. She exhaled in relief. "It's Naomi." Naomi White stepped inside, her blonde hair pulled into a neat bun, eyes sharp behind wire-framed glasses. She carried a folder tucked beneath her arm, her presence radiating calm professionalism. "Your messages worried me," Naomi said, gaze flicking between Catherine and Sophia. "You look like hell." "Nice to see you too," Catherine muttered, though the corners of her lips twitched. Sophia rose uncertainly. Catherine made the introductions. "Naomi, this is Sophia Grace." Sophia, Naomi's an old friend, and the best archivist at the London Historical Society. If there's a record of anything strange, she's found it. Naomi gave Sophia a polite nod, then set the folder on the table. "Strange would be an understatement. I cross-referenced the missing persons cases from the East End. There's a pattern." She pulled out photographs, faces of men and women, pale and ordinary, all listed as vanished in the last year. She spread them across the table like playing cards. Every one of them disappeared during heavy fog. Witnesses reported hearing voices before they vanished, whispers, calling their names. Naomi's eyes glinted. "Sound familiar?" Sophia's face paled. "And it doesn't stop there," Naomi continued, opening another document. 17th century records from the plague years mention the grey hand, a phantom said to emerge from the fog, claiming souls who wandered too far. "The descriptions match what you told me." Catherine leaned closer. "The grey hand, you think this is the same thing?" Naomi shrugged. "Legends survive for a reason. Sometimes they're just metaphors. Sometimes." She glanced at Sophia. "Sometimes they're warnings." Sophia's voice was barely audible. "It's real. It's following me." Naomi studied her, then turned back to Catherine. "If it's targeting her specifically, we need to know why. Is there any family history, old connections, anything unusual in her past?" Sophia's eyes flickered with something unreadable. "No," she said too quickly. "Nothing." Catherine caught the hesitation but let it slide for now. Pressing Sophia might only push her deeper into fear. Naomi packed the photographs back into the folder. "If the legend's true, mirrors were once used to repel it. People hung them near their doors to reflect the phantom away. Superstition, maybe, but worth trying." Sophia frowned. "Mirrors?" Naomi nodded. "It was believed the grey hand couldn't stand to see itself. Or it didn't like competition," Catherine muttered. Despite the tension, Sophia smiled faintly at that. Naomi stood. "I'll bring supplies tonight. Don't go out after dark. And whatever you do, Don't answer if you hear it call your name. When she left, silence settled again. Sophia wandered toward the bathroom, murmuring something about washing her face. Catherine remained at the table, flipping through the photographs, unease gnawing at her. Minutes passed before a scream tore through the apartment. Catherine bolted upright, rushing to the bathroom. Sophia! The door was ajar. Inside, Sophia stood frozen before the mirror above the sink. Her hands gripped the porcelain so tightly her knuckles blanched. Catherine's breath caught. The reflection wasn't right. Sophia's face in the mirror was smiling wide, unnatural, lips curling into a grotesque grin. But the real Sophia wasn't smiling at all. Her eyes were wide with terror, tears spilling down her cheeks. Do you see it? Sophia whispered hoarsely. Tell me you see it. Catherine stepped closer, revolver trembling in her grip though bullets would mean nothing against glass. I see it. The mirrored Sophia tilted her head, grin stretching wider, and then slowly raised a blackened, skeletal hand. It pressed against the glass, fogging it with frost. Catherine's instincts screamed. She grabbed Sophia, yanking her back just as a crack split across the mirror's surface, jagged like lightning. Sophia sobbed, burying her face in Catherine's shoulder. The reflection lingered for a heartbeat longer, the grin fading into a sneer. Then the glass shattered, spraying shards across the sink. The bathroom was plunged into silence. Only their ragged breathing filled the air. Catherine's heart thundered. She stroked Sophia's hair, whispering fiercely, I've got you. I want to let it touch you. But her own hands shook violently. Because now, she knew for certain. The grey hand wasn't just a story. It was inside their world, clawing through mirrors, hunting them. And it had made its intentions chillingly clear. Shards of broken glass still glittered across the bathroom floor when Naomi returned that evening. She carried a leather satchel that looked more like it belonged to an antiquarian than an archivist. Yet when she set it on Sophia's table and unlatched the brass buckles, the contents were far from ordinary. Catherine raised an eyebrow. Please tell me you didn't rob the museum. Naomi ignored her, pulling out a small silver-framed mirror, its surface polished to perfection, a vial of salt crystals, and a bundle of black candles wrapped in twine. Last, she produced a leather-bound book, its spine cracked from age. Sophia stared, wide-eyed. What is all this? Tools, Naomi said simply. Some practical, some symbolic. The kind of things your ancestors clung to when reason wasn't enough. And considering what you saw, she gestured at the bathroom door, still sealed shut with a blanket nailed across it, I'd say reason is outmatched. Catherine folded her arms. You used to laugh at this kind of thing. Naomi's lips curved faintly. And you used to think journalism could fix the world. People change. Catherine's retort died on her tongue. Naomi's eyes cool, steady held something Catherine hadn't seen before. Not skepticism. Not amusement. Belief. Sophia shifted uncomfortably. Will this keep it away? Naomi arranged the items on the table. It might. Mirrors to reflect it, salt to bar it, fire to weaken it. But... She hesitated. The grey hand isn't just haunting you, Sophia. It's tethered. That means there's a reason it chose you. Sophia stiffened. I don't know why. I told you I'm nobody special. Catherine touched her shoulder gently. Then we'll figure it out together. Whatever it takes. Naomi's voice softened. Secrets have weight, Sophia. And whatever this thing is, it feeds on them. Sophia looked away, saying nothing. The rest of the evening passed in uneasy preparation. Naomi placed small mirrors at the doors and windows, sprinkling thin lines of salt across thresholds. Catherine helped, though she muttered under her breath about how absurd it all felt. But when her hand brushed the broken shards of the bathroom mirror, icy numbness spread up her fingers, and suddenly the absurdity wasn't so funny. By nightfall, the flat looked more like a ritual chamber than a home. The candles burned steadily, filling the air with faint smoke. Sophia sat curled on the sofa, sketchbook clutched to her chest like a shield. Catherine stayed near the window, watching the fog gather again outside. It rose faster this time, thicker, as though angered by their attempts at defense. Naomi closed the leather book. "Stay awake," she instructed. "Don't respond if you hear it. And don't under any circumstance look directly into the fog." The words barely left her mouth before a knock rattled the door. Sophia jumped. Catherine pulled her pistol instinctively. Naomi shook her head. "Wait." She picked up a candle, carrying it toward the door. The knock came again, harder this time, reverberating through the wood. Then, a voice smooth, coaxing, unmistakably human. "Catherine. Let me in." Catherine froze. Her own voice. Sophia clutched her sketchbook tighter. It's you." Naomi's eyes narrowed. "It mimics. That's how it lures." She pressed her hand against the door, whispering words Catherine didn't recognize. The air grew colder. The knocking stopped. For a moment, silence. Then the voice returned low, guttural, warped. "Sophia." The candles flickered violently. The line of salt at the threshold shivered, scattering as though swept by an unseen hand. Naomi cursed under her breath. "It's testing the barrier." Catherine moved instinctively to block Sophia with her body. "You're not taking her," she shouted. The fog pressed harder against the windows. One of the mirrors on the sill cracked with a sharp snap. The temperature plummeted, frost laced across the glass. Sophia gasped. She wasn't looking at the windows, she was staring at her sketchbook, which trembled in her grip. Pages flipped wildly on their own until they stopped at a half-finished drawing. Catherine leaned over her shoulder and her stomach dropped. It was the three of them. Catherine, Sophia, Naomi, drawn in stark charcoal, standing in the very room they occupied. But behind them loomed a shadowy figure, its skeletal hand reaching forward. Only one detail was different. In the drawing, Catherine's eyes were blackened out. Naomi slammed the book shut. "Don't look at it." But the damage was done. The windows burst open with a force that scattered glass across the room. Fog poured in, thick and suffocating, curling around their feet like chains. Sophia screamed. Catherine pulled her close, pistol raised, though she knew bullets were useless. Still, she fired into the mist. The sound echoed like thunder, but the fog swallowed the bullets as if they never existed. Through the haze, a hand emerged, long, skeletal, dripping with shadow. It brushed against the line of salt, hissing as though burned, but it didn't retreat. Naomi hurled the silver mirror toward it. The hand recoiled instantly, the fog rippling back as though in pain. "More mirrors!" Naomi shouted. "Use them!" Catherine grabbed another from the table, angling it toward the advancing mist. The reflection caught the vague outline of the figure, distorted and writhing. A shriek tore through the air, high-pitched, inhuman, rattling the glass in the frames. The fog wavered, retreating inch by inch. until with one last howl it slipped back out the shattered windows. Silence fell. The candles burned low. The air smelled of salt and smoke. Sophia collapsed against Catherine's chest, sobbing uncontrollably. Catherine stroked her hair, her own body trembling with the aftershock. Naomi gathered the broken mirror, jaw clenched. It won't stop. You understand that now? Catherine nodded grimly. Then we don't stop either. Naomi looked at Sophia, her expression softening. If it's tethered to you, there's a reason. Until we know what it is, none of us are safe. Sophia lifted her tear-streaked face, eyes shimmering with fear. I swear. I don't know why it wants me. Catherine held her closer, whispering fiercely, whatever it is, you're not facing it alone. Not while I'm here. But deep inside, Catherine knew the drawing wasn't wrong. The grey hand wasn't after Sophia alone anymore. It had marked her, too. The night dragged on like an endless trial. None of them slept. The windows were barricaded with boards Catherine had found in the basement, mirrors set in place at every corner, candles smoldering until dawn. When the first pale light seeped into the apartment, Sophia finally stirred from Catherine's arms. Her face was drawn, eyes hollow, as if she had aged years in a single night. Naomi closed her book with a soft thud. It won't stop, Sophia. If we want to fight it, we need to know why you. Sophia's gaze flickered toward the floor. I told you. I don't know. Catherine crouched in front of her, brushing a strand of hair from her cheek. I believe you, but, last night, that drawing, how could you sketch something you hadn't seen yet? Sophia's fingers tightened on the sketchbook. Silence stretched until it became unbearable. Finally, she whispered, because I've seen it before. Naomi leaned forward. When? Sophia swallowed hard. Years ago. I was 12. My parents had taken me to the countryside, an old village near Yorkshire. The fog rolled in one night, thicker than anything I'd ever seen. And I heard it, that voice, whispering my name. Catherine's heart lurched. I thought it was just a nightmare, Sophia continued. But in the morning, my cousin, he was gone. Vanished. They searched the fields, the woods, nothing. The last thing I remember is him calling to me from the fog. And then silence. Her voice cracked. They all thought I was lying. They said I made it up because I was scared. But I knew. I knew something had taken him. Naomi's face hardened. The tether. It began then. Sophia hugged the sketchbook to her chest. Since that night, the dreams never stopped. Sometimes I'd draw without realizing images of hands, of faces I didn't recognize. And now, it's not just dreams anymore. Catherine took her trembling hands, squeezing them gently. You've carried this alone for years. Tears welled in Sophia's eyes. I didn't want anyone to think I was cursed. Catherine pulled her into an embrace. You're not cursed. You're being hunted. And that's not your fault. Naomi, however, was less comforting. She stood, pacing slowly. If the tether started with your cousin, it might mean the grey hand marked you as a child. Which means it's patient. It waits until the right time. Sophia's voice quivered. The right time for what? Naomi hesitated. To claim you fully. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Later that afternoon, Catherine insisted they leave the apartment, if only briefly. Four walls won't save us forever, she said. We need answers. More than legends. Reluctantly, Naomi agreed. They took a cab across the city to the archives. Naomi had access to a grand, dust-laden building tucked away behind a forgotten street near Holborn. Inside, towering shelves sagged under the weight of forgotten history. Naomi led them to a private room where she spread old parish records across a wooden table. "Your cousin?" she asked Sophia. "His name?" Sophia hesitated. "Daniel. Daniel Clark." Naomi scribbled it down, rifling through registers and death notices. Hours passed, pages turned, until finally Naomi froze. "Here." She pushed a yellowed document toward them. Catherine leaned closer. The words were faded, but legible enough. Daniel Clark presumed dead. Missing, 2007. Body never recovered. Circumstances, heavy fog. Witness, Sophia Grace. Sophia flinched at her own name. But Naomi wasn't done. She turned another page, revealing an older record. 17th century. Same surname. Clark. Catherine read aloud, "Thomas Clark. Taken by the Grey Hand." Witness described a skeletal figure in the fog, calling names. Her throat went dry. Sophia stared at the parchment, her voice breaking. "It's my family." Naomi nodded grimly. "It doesn't just choose at random. It chooses bloodlines. Families tied to it for generations. Your cousin wasn't the first. And you." She looked directly at Sophia. "You might be the last." Sophia staggered back, shaking her head. No, I won't accept that." Catherine grabbed her hand firmly. "You don't have to. We'll break it." Naomi's voice was low. "If it's tethered to a family curse, breaking it won't be easy. Blood calls to blood." Sophia whispered, almost to herself, "Then maybe, it wants me because I'm the last one left." Catherine's grip tightened. "And if that's true, then it underestimates us. Because you're not alone." They left the archives at dusk, exhaustion weighing on them. The streets were damp from rain, neon lights flickering to life in the haze. As they walked toward the cab stand, Catherine felt an odd pull, like the fog itself was watching. She turned sharply, scanning the shadows. For a moment, she swore she saw a figure at the far end of the street, tall and thin, its arms stretching longer than human. But when she blinked, it was gone. Back in the cab, Sophia leaned against her shoulder, whispering, "It won't stop until it has me." Catherine kissed the top of her head, fierce and tender all at once. "Then it'll have to go through me first." Naomi glanced at them from the front seat, her jaw tight. "Don't make promises you can't keep, Catherine. The Grey Hand doesn't lose easily." But Catherine only held Sophia closer, eyes burning with determination. Because she wasn't thinking about losing. She was already planning how to win. The cab had barely turned the corner toward Sophia's flat when the engine sputtered. A hiss, then silence. The car shuddered to a halt. "Bloody thing," the driver cursed, thumping the steering wheel. "Give me a moment, I'll check the hood." Naomi's eyes narrowed. "We shouldn't stop here." Catherine glanced out the window. The street was deserted, cloaked in a sudden, unnatural fog. Her heart dropped. "Don't open that door," she ordered sharply. But the driver had already stepped outside. The man's figure disappeared almost instantly into the mist. His footsteps faded, then stopped altogether. Sophia clutched Catherine's arm. "It's here." Naomi pulled a small vial from her bag, liquid swirling inside like molten silver. "Stay close." If it breaches the circle, we use this. Catherine drew her revolver, though she knew bullets were useless. Still, the weight steadied her. The fog pressed tighter against the cab, thick and suffocating. A sound emerged, soft at first, then rising, the faint rasp of nails dragging across metal. Screech. The roof of the cab dented inward. Catherine shoved Sophia down against the seat, weapon aimed upward. Naomi. But Naomi was already chanting something under her breath, sprinkling the silver liquid along the edge of the door. The air shimmered faintly, forming a barrier. Then came the voice. Catherine. It slithered through the mist, a perfect mimic of her own father's voice, low, familiar, impossible. Her stomach clenched. Don't listen, Naomi snapped. It lies. The cab door rattled violently. A hand, blackened, skeletal, too long, slid through the tiniest gap in the window, feeling its way blindly. Frost bloomed wherever the fingers touched. Sophia whimpered, burying her face against Catherine's coat. But her sketchbook slipped from her grip, falling open on the seat. The pencil rolled. Almost on instinct, Sophia snatched it up, her hand moving furiously across the page. Lines slashed in frantic strokes, faster than thought. Catherine began, but stopped when she saw the page filled with the outline of a door, arched, heavy, bolted with chains. As the final stroke darkened, the air around them shifted. The skeletal hand jerked back violently, as if repelled. The fog recoiled several feet, swirling with sudden agitation. Naomi's eyes widened. She's channeling it. Her drawings, they can bind it. The cab rocked violently, as though something massive slammed against it. Windows cracked. The driver's scream echoed faintly in the distance, then cut off in a wet, choking sound. Sophia didn't stop drawing. Her wrist moved as though guided by something beyond her, sketching a circle, then sigils Catherine couldn't recognize. Her breathing came ragged, tears streaking her face, but the page glowed faintly with each completed mark. The fog writhed, shrieking with a sound that pierced their ears. The skeletal outline of a figure loomed briefly in the mist, taller than any human, arms stretching impossibly long, its face a hollow void. It pressed against the invisible circle Naomi had cast, clawing, furious. But Sophia's page flared, the lines burning with white light. The entity recoiled, howling. The fog snapped back like a curtain yanked away, retreating down the street. Silence rushed in its place, heavy and unreal. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Sophia collapsed forward, pencil falling from her limp hand. Catherine caught her, panic rising. Sophia! Stay with me. Naomi checked her pulse, relief softening her expression. She's alive. Just drained. Whatever power she's using, it's eating at her strength. Catherine cradled her close, fury tightening her jaw. She shouldn't have to fight this alone. Naomi met her gaze. But she's the key. Whether she wants to be or not. By the time they reached Sophia's flat, the dawn had begun to break. The streets were empty, eerily calm, as if nothing had happened. Inside, Catherine laid Sophia gently on the bed, brushing damp hair from her face. She looked so fragile, yet Catherine had never seen such strength. Naomi placed the glowing sketchbook on the table. The light had dimmed, but the sigils remained, etched into the paper like scars. She's not just haunted, Naomi said softly. She's connected. The grey hand doesn't just want her soul, it needs her. Her bloodline carries something it covets. Catherine's chest tightened. And if it takes her? Naomi's voice was grim. Then it won't stop with her. The barrier between worlds will break. London will drown in fog. The words settled like ice in Catherine's stomach. She looked down at Sophia, sleeping fitfully in her arms, and swore silently. Not while I breathe. That night, as Catherine dozed lightly in the chair by Sophia's bed, she woke to the faintest sound. A whisper. Not from the window, or the door. From the sketchbook. It lay open on the desk, pages fluttering though there was no wind. The sigils Sophia had drawn glowed faintly. And then, one by one, new words began to scrawl themselves across the paper, letters forming in a jagged, inhuman hand. She is ours. Catherine's blood ran cold. She stood, revolver in hand, and placed herself between the book and Sophia, as though her body could shield her from words carved in darkness. Her voice shook with fury, but her resolve was steel. No. She's mine. Sophia awoke to the sound of whispers. At first, she thought it was Naomi muttering incantations again, or Catherine pacing with restless thoughts. But when she opened her eyes, the room was empty. The whispers were coming from the walls. She sat up slowly, pressing her back to the headboard. The wallpaper faded, patterns of ivy seemed to move. Faint shapes swam beneath the plaster, as though something pressed from the other side. Sophia. Her name slithered through the air, muffled but distinct. She clutched the blanket to her chest, trembling. The bedroom door swung open suddenly, and Catherine rushed in. Sophia, what is it? The walls, Sophia whispered hoarsely, pointing. They're speaking. Catherine scanned the room. To her, the walls looked unchanged, but the way Sophia's eyes widened in terror was enough. She hurried to the bed, gripping Sophia's hands. I hear it too, Catherine lied, voice low and steady. And we'll shut it up. Naomi appeared behind her, holding a bundle of chalk and a small knife. Don't lie to her, she said sharply. If she hears them, it means the veil is thinning. This flat is compromised. Sophia's breath hitched. It's inside here. Naomi knelt, sketching symbols across the floorboards with quick, practiced strokes. Not yet. But it's close. The whispers grew louder, rising into a chorus of voices overlapping, 1,000 tones all calling Sophia's name. The walls bulged outward, plaster cracking as if something immense pushed against them. Catherine lifted her revolver, though the gesture was futile. Naomi, what do we do? Containment first, Naomi barked. She sliced her palm lightly with the knife, smearing blood into the chalk lines. The symbols pulsed red. This will hold for now. But Sophia clutched her sketchbook, staring at the page where she had drawn the chained door the night before. Her pencil hovered above the paper, shaking. I can make it stop, she whispered. Catherine turned to her. Sophia, you're too weak. You nearly collapsed last night. Sophia's eyes filled with determination beneath the fear. If I don't try, it'll break through. Then none of us survive. The walls groaned. A fissure ripped across the plaster, dust falling like snow. From the crack, a skeletal finger probed outward, scraping the air. Now, Sophia! Naomi shouted. Her hand moved like lightning, sketching bars across the page, thicker, darker, reinforcing the chains she had drawn before. With each stroke, the crack in the wall shivered, halting. The whispers rose into a scream, so loud Catherine clamped her hands over her ears. The furniture shook, the mirror on the wall rattled violently. Then shattered glass exploded across the room. The mirror splintered into shards, and from within its fractured surface, a face emerged, elongated, hollow-eyed, its mouth stretched impossibly wide. Catherine lunged forward, shielding Sophia with her body. Shards sliced her arm, but she didn't flinch. Naomi hurled a vial of silver liquid at the mirror. It burst into smoke, sizzling as it touched the glass. The face shrieked, retreating back into the reflection. But the shards on the floor still whispered, their edges glowing faintly. Sophia, sobbing, pressed her pencil harder, sketching a heavy lock over the bars. As the final line was drawn, the walls heaved a final time and then stilled. The whispers ceased. Silence fell like a dropped curtain. For a long while, the three of them sat in the wreckage of the bedroom. Dust coated the air. Blood dripped from Catherine's arm onto the floor, but she barely noticed. Her only focus was the woman trembling in her arms. "You did it," Catherine whispered, brushing sweat-soaked hair from Sophia's forehead. "You saved us again." Sophia shook her head weakly. "It's never enough. Every time I close one door, it finds another." Naomi was examining the broken mirror with a grim expression. "She's right. The Grey Hand doesn't obey normal rules. Walls, glass, even air, it can crawl through any surface once weakened. We're running out of safe ground." Catherine lifted her gaze. "Then what's the next step?" Naomi hesitated. "We need to leave London. The city is riddled with entrances. Every mirror, every foggy street, it feeds on them. If Sophia stays, she'll only get weaker." Sophia stirred in Catherine's arms, whispering, "Where would we go?" Naomi met her eyes. "There's a place. North, near the ruins of Whitfield Abbey. Old grounds once used for rituals to bind the Grey Hand. If we're lucky, the seal is still there. It may be the only sanctuary left." Sophia shuddered. "And if it's broken?" Naomi didn't answer. Catherine's jaw tightened. She kissed Sophia's temple gently, fiercely protective. "Then we'll fix it. Whatever it takes." That night, as they prepared to leave, Catherine caught her reflection in one of the surviving shards of the mirror. For just a second, her reflection didn't move with her. Instead, it leaned closer, lips curling into a smile she hadn't made. And in a voice only she could hear, it whispered, "You can't save her." Catherine smashed the shard with her boot, glass crunching beneath her heel. But even as she turned away, a chill lingered at the back of her neck. Because deep down, a seed of fear had been planted. What if the Grey Hand was right? The sun had barely risen when they left London. The streets, still slick with dew and littered with the ghosts of fog, looked eerily calm. Catherine drove the borrowed car, knuckles white on the steering wheel. Sophia sat beside her, sketchbook clutched to her chest, while Naomi hunched in the back, murmuring prayers in a language neither of them understood. For a few blessed hours, the ride was uneventful. Fields stretched endlessly, punctuated by gnarled trees. But even in daylight, the air felt heavy like the calm before a storm. Catherine broke the silence. "How much farther?" "Another 60 miles, Naomi answered without lifting her eyes. "Whitfield Abbey lies near the cliffs. If the seal still holds, it should repel the Grey Hand, for a time." "For a time," Catherine echoed. Naomi's lips pressed into a thin line. "Nothing is permanent." Sophia rested her head against the window. "I can still hear them," she whispered. Catherine glanced sharply at her. "Hear what?" "The voices. They didn't stop when we left the flat. They're quieter now, but they're there. Like a chorus under the world. Her voice cracked. And sometimes, Catherine, I feel like they're inside me. Catherine reached for her hand, squeezing it tightly. Don't say that. You're stronger than they are. Sophia gave her a fragile smile, but her eyes didn't match. By midday, clouds had gathered. Rain lashed against the windshield, blurring the road into a grey smear. Catherine slowed the car, tension thrumming in her veins. Naomi leaned forward. Keep driving. The weather isn't natural. It's trying to force us off course. As if on cue, the radio crackled to life, though it had been off. Static filled the air, then twisted into words deep, rasping. Turn back. The voice was followed by a shriek that made Sophia clap her hands over her ears. The glass of the windshield spider-webbed, cracks splintering outward. Hold on! Catherine shouted, swerving the car onto a dirt path off the main road. Mud splashed, tires spun, but they kept moving. The rain ceased as suddenly as it had come. They found themselves on a narrow country lane lined with ancient oaks. Their branches arched overhead like skeletal arms. Sophia's breathing quickened. Catherine, the trees. They're watching us. Catherine opened her mouth to dismiss it, but then she saw it too. The bark of the trees twisted into crude faces, mouths open in silent screams. Their hollow eyes followed the car as it passed. Naomi pressed a charm of iron against her chest. We're close. That's why it's fighting harder. It knows where we're going. Night fell before they reached the coast. The ruins of Whitfield Abbey rose in the distance, silhouetted against the sea. The skeletal remains of towers jutted upward, half swallowed by ivy. But between them and the abbey stretched a fog-drenched moor. Catherine parked the car at the edge of the heath. Her gut twisted. The fog didn't roll naturally, it curled inwards, as if waiting. We walk from here, Naomi said. Stay in the circle of salt. Don't stray. She poured a thin line of salt around them, then gestured for Sophia to hold the sketchbook open. If anything comes too close, draw. Sophia's hands trembled, but she nodded. They stepped into the fog. The moor seemed endless. Every footstep was muffled, as though the earth itself swallowed sound. Catherine kept Sophia close, arm firm around her waist. Naomi walked ahead, chanting softly, her voice carrying like a lifeline through the gloom. Then came the whispers again. But this time, they weren't muffled. They were sharp, cutting, spoken in voices they knew. Catherine. It was her father's voice again, filled with disappointment. You failed us. You failed her. Sophia stopped in her tracks. From the fog came another voice, her mother's. Sophia, come home. We miss you. Come with us. Her knees buckled. Catherine caught her, shaking her head fiercely. It's not real. Don't listen. But Sophia's eyes brimmed with tears. It sounds so real, Catherine. I want to believe it. Naomi barked, move. It's feeding on you. The fog thickened, shapes shifting within it, long limbs, hollow eyes. One figure lunged, skeletal hands reaching. Catherine fired her revolver, the crack splitting the silence. The bullet tore through mist, useless, but it bought a heartbeat. Sophia, sobbing, scribbled furiously. She drew a circle of fire, lines jagged and wild. The moment her pencil finished, flames erupted in the fog, blazing around them in a protective ring. The figures shrieked, writhing in agony. The fire burned with unnatural brightness, casting long shadows across the heath. But the effort tore through Sophia. She collapsed into Catherine's arms, pale as death. "We're nearly there," Naomi shouted over the roar. "Just hold on." Catherine lifted Sophia, carrying her as the ring of fire flickered, threatening to die. She sprinted toward the looming ruins. The abbey's archway yawned open, black against black, but as they crossed the threshold, the flames died and the fog stopped at the gate, howling in frustration. Inside, silence reigned. The ruins smelled of salt and seaweed, stone walls slick with damp. Strange markings covered the floor, faded, ancient sigils, worn but still faintly glowing. Naomi dropped to her knees, pressing her palms against the symbols. "Yes. The seal holds." Catherine laid Sophia gently on the cold stone, brushing damp hair from her face. She was breathing, but shallowly. "She can't keep doing this," Catherine whispered, voice breaking. Naomi didn't look up. "She doesn't have a choice. She is the vessel. Without her, the Grey Hand will break through." Catherine's jaw tightened. "Then I'll be her shield. No matter the cost." Naomi finally met her eyes, something unreadable in her expression. "And if the cost is your soul, Catherine, would you still give it?" Catherine didn't hesitate, she pressed Sophia's trembling hand to her lips. "Yes." Far above, through the broken roof of the abbey, the moon vanished behind clouds. And in that sudden darkness, something stirred in the stones beneath them. For though the abbey's seal held, cracks were beginning to spread. The abbey was not silent for long. At first, only the sea could be heard, waves crashing against the cliffs outside. But as Catherine adjusted to the darkness, she realized the stones themselves were breathing. A low, steady pulse reverberated beneath her palms as if the ruins were alive. Sophia stirred weakly in her arms, whispering, "It's here, under us." Naomi rose from the sigils she had been examining. Her face was pale, lips pressed thin. "The Grey Hand has burrowed deep into the foundation. The seal wasn't just to ward it off, it was to imprison it." Catherine looked sharply at her. "And now it's breaking free." Naomi didn't answer. The silence was enough. A sudden crack split the floor. Dust and fragments rained down as the sigils flickered, dimming like dying embers. From the gap, a skeletal hand thrust upward, long, blackened fingers clawing at the air. Sophia screamed. Catherine shoved her back against the wall, gun already in her hand. She fired point blank into the hand. Bullets tore through bone, but the fragments dissolved into smoke and reformed instantly. The abbey trembled violently. More cracks spread across the floor, more hands forcing their way out. Naomi slashed her palm again, pressing blood against the glowing runes. "Sophia! Draw now!" Sophia's trembling fingers scrambled for her sketchbook. Her pencil flew, frantic lines forming a cage of iron bars. As the image took shape, ghostly metal rose from the floor, slamming down around the largest hand. It writhed, shrieking, pinned inside the phantom cage. But 3 more hands erupted from the stones. Catherine pulled Sophia against her, shielding her as another hand swung. Its claws scraped down her back, shredding her coat and leaving a burning welt. She gritted her teeth, refusing to cry out. "Naomi!" Catherine shouted. "This place was supposed to save us." Naomi's eyes were wild, her face lit by the trembling glow of the runes. "It can. The central seal, it lies in the crypt beneath us. If we restore it, we can push the Grey Hand back into the deep." Catherine glanced at Sophia, too pale, barely able to keep her pencil moving. And if we can't? Naomi met her gaze, unflinching. Then it takes her. And the world follows. The ground buckled. A fissure tore through the center of the abbey, revealing a stairway plunging into blackness. A foul wind rose from below, carrying whispers that rattled Catherine's bones. Down there, Catherine asked. Naomi nodded. Yes. That's where the true battle is. Another hand lunged toward them, knocking over a crumbling pillar. Catherine pulled Sophia to her feet, forcing her toward the stairway. Then let us end this. The descent into the crypt was suffocating. The walls closed around them, slick with sea water. The air grew colder with each step, and the whispers grew louder, now forming distinct words. Catherine, weak. Sophia, broken. Naomi, traitor. Sophia stumbled, clutching her head. It knows our names. Catherine held her tighter. Don't listen. But when she glanced at Naomi, she caught a flicker of guilt in her eyes. The crypt opened into a vast chamber. At its center stood a great stone slab, carved with runes, glowing faintly. Around it, chains of rusted iron stretched into the darkness, holding something beneath. But the chains were breaking. One by one, links snapped, echoing like gunfire. From beneath the slab, a massive hand forced upward, far larger than the ones above, its fingers as long as spears, its nails dragging furrows across the stone. Sophia gasped, tears streaking her face. It's not just a hand. It's the whole thing. Buried alive. Naomi's voice shook as she approached the slab. This is the heart of the seal. If Sophia strengthens the runes, we can bind it again. But she'll need more than her own strength. Catherine narrowed her eyes. What do you mean? Naomi turned slowly. A blood bond. Someone must give themselves fully. Their life, their will tied to hers. Only then can the grey hand be forced back. Sophia's eyes widened in horror. No. I won't let either of you. But Catherine stepped forward immediately. Take mine. Catherine. Sophia's cry echoed through the chamber. Naomi's gaze hardened. Are you certain once given, it cannot be undone? Catherine didn't hesitate. If it means saving her, I'll give everything. The grey hand erupted fully then, slamming its massive palm against the slab. The chamber shook violently, stones falling from the ceiling. Sophia screamed as the whispers turned into a deafening chorus, promising pain, death, and endless hunger. Naomi cut Catherine's palm and pressed it against Sophia's. Their blood mingled, dripping onto the glowing runes. The effect was immediate. Sophia's body jolted as a surge of energy tore through her. Her sketchbook flew open, pages riffling wildly, pencil scrawling on its own. Lines of fire, chains, and locks appeared, drawn by an invisible force. The runes on the slab blazed brighter, igniting with their joined strength. The massive hand screeched, thrashing against the chains as they tightened once more. Sophia cried out, body racked with pain, but Catherine held her, refusing to let go. I've got you. I'll never let go. The grey hand's fingers clawed at them, reaching just inches away. One nail grazed Catherine's cheek, leaving a burning line of blood. She didn't flinch. Draw it shut. Naomi shouted. Now. With one final burst of will, Sophia slammed her pencil across the page. The slab roared with light, chains snapping tight, dragging the monstrous hand back beneath the stone. The chamber shook, then fell still. Silence followed, heavy and absolute. Sophia collapsed against Catherine's chest, unconscious but breathing. The runes on the slab glowed faintly, the chains holding steady once more. Naomi exhaled shakily, wiping blood from her brow. It's done. For now. Catherine kissed Sophia's hair, holding her as if she might disappear. No, she murmured fiercely. It's not just for now. She's going to live. I swore it. Naomi looked at her, something dark flickering in her expression. You don't understand, Catherine. The bond you forged, it tied your soul to hers. If she falls, you fall. If the grey hand takes her. Catherine cut her off, eyes blazing. Then it'll have to go through me first. Far below the slab, in the endless dark, the grey hand did not sleep. It waited. The climb back up from the crypt was slower than Catherine had expected. Her body felt heavier with each step, as though invisible chains dragged at her limbs. She refused to stumble, carrying Sophia in her arms while Naomi lit the way with a trembling torch. By the time they reached the ruined abbey above, dawn had broken. Pale light poured through the shattered windows, washing the ancient stones in silver. For a moment, the nightmare felt distant, almost unreal. But then Catherine noticed it, the wound on her palm, where Naomi had cut her for the bond. The blood had stopped flowing, yet the mark glowed faintly, lines of crimson like living veins, pulsing in rhythm with Sophia's heartbeat. Sophia stirred weakly in her arms. Her eyelids fluttered open, and for the briefest instant Catherine saw the glow mirrored in her eyes. Catherine! She whispered, voice raw, what did you do? Catherine bent low, brushing hair from Sophia's damp forehead. I did what I had to. You're safe now. Sophia's fingers tightened around hers. The glow in their joined palms pulsed brighter. Safe? No, you tied yourself to me. If it comes back. Her voice broke. It'll take you too. Catherine silenced her with a kiss, gentle, lingering, fierce with unspoken promises. When she pulled back, her voice was steady. Then we'll fight together. Always. Naomi, watching from the shadows of a crumbling archway, cleared her throat. Romantic as that sounds, you need to understand the truth. The bond doesn't just tie your lives, it ties your fates. The grey hand will not stop until it claims Sophia. And now, it will claim you as well. Catherine rose to her full height, still holding Sophia protectively. Then tell me how to end it. Naomi's gaze was heavy, unreadable. There are only two ways. Strengthen the seal forever, or sever the bond by sacrifice. Sophia's eyes widened. Sacrifice. Naomi nodded slowly. If either of you dies willingly, the bond dissolves, breaking the grey hand's claim. But if neither chooses, the hand may take you both. Sophia shook her head, tears threatening. No. No one dies. We'll find another way. But Catherine didn't speak. Her silence said enough. They left the abbey that afternoon, the cliffs behind them swallowed by mist. The road back to the mainland stretched endlessly, each step echoing with the memory of the crypt. At an inn along the way, Catherine finally laid Sophia in a bed, brushing damp strands of hair from her face. Sophia was asleep almost instantly, her breathing shallow but steady. Catherine sat at her side, unable to rest. She studied the bond mark on her palm, its faint red glow, and thought of the whispers in the crypt, voices that had known her secrets, her fears. Do you regret it? The voice startled her. Naomi stood in the doorway, her usual sharpness softened by exhaustion. Catherine's reply was immediate. No. Naomi stepped closer, folding her arms. Even if it kills you. Catherine glanced back at Sophia, curled like a child in sleep. Her chest ached just looking at her. Especially if it kills me. I'd rather die bound to her than live while she's taken. Naomi studied her for a long time. Then, almost reluctantly, she whispered, "You sound like my sister." Catherine turned to her, surprised. "You never mentioned." "She's gone," Naomi cut in, eyes distant. She was the vessel before Sophia. The grey hand almost had her. "I tried to stop it. I failed." Her jaw clenched. "That's why I came to you. I thought, maybe this time, someone could succeed where I couldn't." Catherine absorbed her words in silence. For the first time, she saw not just suspicion in Naomi, but grief. That night, Catherine dreamt of the crypt again. But in the dream, the grey hand was not chained. It towered above her, shadow blotting out the stars, voice booming like thunder. "You gave yourself willingly," it hissed, each word shaking her bones. "When she falls, you fall. And when you both are mine, the seal will break forever." Catherine tried to raise her gun, but her arm refused to move. The hand reached for her, clawing not at her body, but her heart. And then Sophia appeared beside her. Barefoot, pale, her night dress glowing faintly. She caught Catherine's hand, anchoring her. "Don't listen. You're not his." Catherine's strength returned instantly. She pulled Sophia close, pressing their glowing palms together. Light erupted from the bond, shattering the darkness, forcing the hand back into the void. When Catherine awoke, she was still clutching Sophia's hand in the bed beside her. Their palms glowed softly in the morning light. Sophia's eyes opened slowly. "You were there," she whispered. Catherine kissed her temple. "And I'll always be there." The days that followed blurred together. They moved northward, closer to Scotland, following Naomi's maps and fragments of old texts. Each night, Sophia's nightmares grew worse. And each night, Catherine was drawn into them, sharing the visions. Sometimes it was the abbey, crumbling into the sea. Sometimes it was a graveyard, every stone marked with their names. And sometimes it was a future neither dared to voice aloud. Sophia gone, and Catherine alone in endless mist. Each time, Catherine fought to anchor them both back to waking life. Each time, the bond glowed brighter, stronger. But Naomi's warnings lingered. The bond was not just a shield. It was a tether. And tethers could drag as easily as they could hold. One evening, as the three of them camped on the edge of a desolate moor, Naomi approached Catherine again. "We're nearing the highlands," she said, voice low. "The final seal lies in an abandoned manor. That's where the grey hand will make its last attempt." Catherine poked the fire, sparks rising into the night. "Then that's where we'll finish this." Naomi hesitated. "Catherine, you need to prepare yourself. The bond may demand more than you realize." Catherine met her eyes. "I don't care what it demands. She's mine. And I can't live without her." Naomi stared at her, then finally nodded, though her expression was shadowed. Later that night, Catherine returned to the tent to find Sophia awake, sketching by candlelight. The page was filled with chains, hands, and a faint outline of two figures standing back to back in the mist. Sophia looked up, eyes shining with unshed tears. "Catherine, if it comes down to it, promise me you'll save yourself." Catherine knelt, cupping her face. "No. That's one promise I'll never make." Their foreheads touched, breath mingling, the glow of the bond between them brighter than the candle. And outside, in the dark of the moor, the whispers stirred again. The Scottish Highlands stretched endlessly before them, rolling hills swallowed by mist, wind howling like wolves through heather and stone. Catherine guided Sophia along the narrow dirt road, Naomi following a few steps behind. They had been traveling for days, their exhaustion etched into every movement. Yet something in the air had shifted. The bond pulsed stronger with each mile, as though guiding them to the heart of the storm. Finally, the road opened to a valley where the ruins of a vast manor rose from the fog. Its spires were broken, its windows hollow, yet even in ruin it carried the weight of menace. Black ivy climbed the walls, writhing like veins. The air around it was colder, heavier. Sophia shivered, her hand tightening in Catherine's. "It's here. I can feel it." Naomi's face was grim. "Yes. This is where the cult made their final stand centuries ago. Where the Grey Hand was bound. And where it waits to be free." Inside, the manor was a labyrinth of decay. The marble floor was cracked, mirrors along the halls tarnished to black. Yet as they passed, Catherine swore she saw their reflections move differently, lingering after they turned, eyes glowing faintly. Sophia faltered, her knees buckling. Catherine caught her quickly, steadying her. "I saw." Sophia's voice shook. "I saw myself in the glass, but it wasn't me." She was screaming. Catherine pulled her close, whispering fiercely, "Ignore it. You're here with me. Nothing else matters." But as they pressed forward, the house seemed alive. Doors creaked open of their own accord. Whispers slithered through the corridors. The bond in Catherine's palm burned like fire, warning them of the presence circling ever closer. They reached the grand ballroom. The ceiling soared above them, but the crystal chandelier had long since crashed to the floor, shards glittering like frozen stars. At the far end stood an altar, black stone carved with spirals, chains coiled across it like snakes. Naomi's voice was barely a breath. "This is it. The final seal." Sophia staggered back, clutching her chest. The bond between her and Catherine flared violently, dragging Catherine forward with her. And then, from the altar, the shadows thickened. They rose in coils, shaping themselves into the monstrous form of the Grey Hand, towering, skeletal, its claws scraping the floor with a sound like grinding metal. Its voice filled the hall, deeper than thunder. "At last, the vessel returns. And the anchor she has chosen. You cannot fight fate, children. You are mine." Catherine shoved Sophia behind her, gun already in hand, though she knew bullets were useless. The bond in her palm burned so brightly it lit the ballroom like a lantern. "You'll never touch her," Catherine growled. "Not while I'm alive." The Grey Hand's claws scraped forward. "Then you shall fall together." The floor cracked, chains erupting from the stone, lashing toward them. Catherine fired, not to kill but to disrupt. Bullets tore through shadow, buying seconds. She grabbed Sophia and dragged her behind a fallen column. Naomi shouted from the altar, spreading pages of her notes. "The seal must be restored. But it needs," she froze, voice choking. "It needs blood from both of you." Sophia's face drained of color. "Both of us." Naomi's eyes burned with urgency. "The bond tied your lives together. To strengthen the seal, it must drink from both ends of the chain. If you don't, the hand wins." Sophia's hand trembled in Catherine's. "No. If we both give it blood, what if it kills us?" Catherine looked at her, heartbreaking. She wanted to lie, to promise safety. But she couldn't. Then we'll die together. Tears streamed down Sophia's face. I don't want to die. But more than that, I don't want to lose you. Catherine cupped her face, pressing their foreheads together amid the chaos. Listen to me. We've been running, fearing, fighting. But the truth is, I'd rather have one moment bound to you than a lifetime without. If this is the price, I'll pay it gladly. The grey hand's roar shook the walls, shattering the windows. Wind howled through the ballroom, dragging at their hair and clothes. Naomi screamed, now, before it breaks free. Catherine drew her knife, slashing her palm where the bond mark glowed. Sophia, trembling but resolute, did the same. Their blood dripped together onto the altar stone, sizzling as if the rock drank it. The seal flared, light bursting outward. The chains of shadow snapped and recoiled, the grey hand shrieking in rage. But as the light consumed the ballroom, Catherine felt something wrong. Her knees buckled, her strength pouring out through the bond. Sophia cried out, clutching her as the glow spread across both their bodies. Naomi's face twisted in horror. It's too strong, the seal is taking too much. Sophia collapsed against Catherine, blood on her lips, whispering faintly, Catherine, don't let go. Catherine's vision blurred. Her body screamed with pain, her veins burning as though fire coursed through them. Yet through it all, she held Sophia's hand tighter, pressing their palms together, forcing their bond to blaze. I won't, Catherine gasped. Never. The grey hand thrashed, claws shredding the ballroom walls. But as the seal drank deeper, its form began to splinter, cracks racing across its shadowed body. It let out one final roar, half rage, half despair, before collapsing into shards of darkness, torn apart by the light of the bond. The manor trembled violently. Dust rained from the ceiling, the altar splitting beneath their feet. Naomi darted forward, trying to steady them. Catherine! Sophia! Hold on! But Catherine couldn't hear her anymore. Her only focus was Sophia, limp in her arms, eyes fluttering closed. The last thing Catherine whispered, before the darkness claimed her, was, if I fall with you. For a long, breathless moment, there was only silence. Catherine drifted through darkness, weightless, the bond mark on her palm glowing faintly like a distant star. She thought perhaps she had died until a warmth pressed against her hand. Sophia! Her voice echoed, soft, as though carried by wind through fog. Don't leave me! Catherine clung to that voice, pulling herself upward through the void. And then light. She gasped awake, choking on dust. The ballroom was gone, half collapsed, stone and timber buried under rubble. Shafts of pale morning light pierced through the broken ceiling. Mist still curled through the gaps, but it no longer carried whispers. Catherine forced herself to sit up, her body trembling with weakness. Beside her, Sophia lay motionless, blood staining her dress. No. Catherine crawled to her, cradling her against her chest. Sophia, stay with me. Please, don't. A faint breath stirred against her neck. Sophia's eyes fluttered open, weak but alive. You didn't let go. Catherine laughed through tears, pressing her forehead to Sophia's. I told you. Never. Naomi emerged from the dust, limping but alive, her face streaked with ash and blood. She stared at the two of them, disbelief softening into something like awe. It worked, Naomi whispered. The seal drank your bond, but, instead of consuming you, it transformed it. It's stronger now. The grey hand is gone. Sophia's gaze turned to Catherine, their linked palms still glowing faintly, the mark brighter than ever. Gone. Naomi nodded, exhaustion breaking her voice. Banished. Bound tighter than before. It will not rise again, not in our lifetime. Relief washed over them like rain. For the first time since their nightmare began, the air felt clean. They stumbled from the ruins as dawn spread across the highlands. Mist clung to the hills, but it was only mist now, soft, natural, harmless. Catherine held Sophia close as they walked, their bodies battered but unbroken. The bond mark still burned faintly between them, not painful but warm, like a tether to remind them they were alive together. Naomi paused at the edge of the valley, staring back at the shattered manor. Her expression was unreadable. "You two have what many of us never will," she said at last. "A bond that defied death itself. Hold on to it." Catherine tightened her arm around Sophia's shoulders, her throat tight. "We will." Naomi gave a faint smile, then turned toward the horizon. "My work here is done. I'll disappear for a while. Watch, guard, prepare. The Grey Hand may be gone, but the world never stays quiet for long." And with that, she left them, her figure fading into the mist. For days, Catherine and Sophia rested in a small cottage offered by villagers who knew nothing of the horrors that had passed in the valley. Their wounds healed slowly, but their spirits began to mend faster. Every morning, Catherine would wake to find Sophia sketching quietly by the window. No longer visions of chained doors or screaming faces, now she drew hills, flowers, sunlight breaking through mist. One morning, Catherine teased softly, "You're almost making me believe we're normal people." Sophia smiled, placing her pencil down. "Maybe we can be. At least for a while." Catherine leaned in, kissing her forehead. "For as long as you want. I'm not going anywhere." Sophia's eyes shimmered. "Neither am I." Weeks later, on a fogless dawn, they stood together on a hill overlooking the valley. The ruins of the manor were hidden beneath the earth, the shadows gone. Sophia reached for Catherine's hand, their bond mark glowing faintly beneath the rising sun. "Do you think it'll ever come back?" Catherine squeezed her hand, gaze steady. "If it does, we'll face it. Together. That's what the bond means. It's not just chains or sacrifice. It's strength. It's us." Sophia rested her head against Catherine's shoulder, the wind tugging gently at her hair. For the first time in what felt like centuries, she felt safe. And as the first rays of dawn washed across them, the words slipped from Catherine's lips, quiet but unshakable, "I cannot live without you." Sophia's reply came like a breath, soft but certain, "And you'll never have to." The mist rolled back. The sun rose higher. And hand in hand, they walked forward, not into fear, but into a future of their own making.